Welcome back. I'm so glad that you chose to click on and to see what we're talking about today. We are so excited. I'm going to have my good friend introduce herself, but for those of you who are familiar, Shattered Whole wanted to present a more in-depth conversation, something that we're calling Heart to Heart. And give it up for the cues. And who better than to do that with than the person that I enjoy having a heart to heart with, because of her mind, because of her creativity, because of her love of God and His Word, and just the beautiful human that she is.
You're such a beautiful human, friend.
I'm gonna take it. Because usually I'd be like, "Oh no, it's you," but I'm gonna hold that. That's my vow this year, to hold that. Mm-hmm. But just interested
because we hold all the bad things.
Oh yeah.
We hold all the bad things.
I was like, "Oh, that is true." Mm-hmm. Actually, my beauty is also true. Thank you. Okay.
Yes,
good.
It is.
Okay, cool.
My name is Emicia Parker, and I'm a proud friend of Samora Jones.
Come on.
Proud friend.
Come on.
It's important that we make sure that they know that we're friends, because we're going to talk about Friends Day.
Oh, yeah. And with that, I think friendship is one of the first relationships that you have outside of your family that will test like the depth of your willingness to love in a sacrificial way.
I agree.
Yeah. So, but what we're going to focus on more specifically in this particular episode is navigating the end of friendships.
Yeah.
Right? If the title changes when you watch it, why are you judging?
Like, literally.
You know what we said.
You've changed your mind about things, haven't you?
All the time. All right. I was like, but there's so many nuances in it. And we're going to do really well of sticking to just a couple of places, because there's so much in that.
There's so much
in an end. And one of the things I think with just the understanding of an end is it has such a negative.
It really does.
Point of view of it. But ends are so essential.
No, they really are. I also want to just thank you for inviting me on, because you guys already know she does Shattered Whole. This is a mini series that she's doing where she's involving me. Shattered Whole presents Heart to Heart.
Yes.
So, I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. I think ends are really important, and so often we demonize ends.
Yeah.
Because we view end as failure.
Right. Or end it as a throwaway.
Yes.
Right? Because when something ends, it is also, I'm always about the opportunity to reflect and to grow and to understand, so that the place of your next gets to enjoy the fruit of what happened.
I agree. So
one of the ways that we wanted to just talk about friendship is, especially it ending, is the different kinds of friendship. So from your perspective and your view, what have, just off the bat, some different types of friendships in general?
when I think about different types of friendships, I just tend to think about the ways in which you two spend or enjoy each other's time. So sometimes you have like work friends. Those are the friends that like you go to lunch with. You have like friends who are like more deeper, soul sisters, sister friends. I don't know why we love that term, sister friend. We just love, Black people create compound words at an alarming level. But sister friends, you know, then you have those childhood friends. Yeah. You know, a lot of times you're holding on to each other out of nostalgia, even though both of you may not necessarily be in the same place you were in the 3rd grade. Correct. Other types of friendships. Those are the 3 that I have most primarily in my life. But what about you?
Yeah. I have all of those. And also the seasonal. Yeah. Right? And I think I've had more experience with the seasonal than at one point I liked to have. Right. Because I didn't have the wisdom of understanding that friendships can be seasonal. Yes. Some should be. And some should be. Yeah. I kept associating seasonal friendships with failure of being able to make it. Yes. And what it really was a reflection of at that time was my not having an understanding of what trauma I was projecting onto it. Yes. And so it would put me in a place where I would feel so depressed about all the things that happened and occurred that it would dampen my ability to see the fruits of the good that was in it.
Man, that's so good.
I would spend so much time thinking about all the wrong that was in it, and then how something even just like how I couldn't make it work.
No, that's so good. And I think also, you know, rejection sensitivity, like that's something that God has really been walking me through, like super hard body. So many of us are walking around with rejection sensitivity. Yeah. So whether that resulted from childhood bullying, let's be honest, you know, sticks and stones, they break my bones and words will never hurt me. A lie from the pit of hell. And there are people who still have, you know, insecurities about their ears, their faces, their bodies, their everything because of things that they were told as a child. Sometimes it's parental abandonment or rejection that causes that initial rejection sensitivity. Sometimes it's a relationship, you know, that someone is in a romantic relationship they don't heal from. And so often when you experience yourself as being inadequate, and something is shifting or changing, you automatically project your inadequacies or your perceived inadequacies into that. And it makes you feel like when someone is responding to you, they're responding to those. Yeah.
Yes. And Emicia talks to me about my introspective evaluation
She's like a myself. Superhero with introspection. She need a cape.
And can I tell you where that came from? It came from the ebbs and flows of friendships. And I was like, and dealing with things with family, but I was like, especially in friendships. Because with families, you're born into, you got what you got, but your friends is who you chose.
In real life.
You know what I mean? Your friends is who you chose, and you chose these people based on what you observed and what you guys began to experience together. Yes. And then you would not enjoy or value what you chose. Yeah. So then I started asking the question towards myself, are they the problem or am I the problem, or is there just a problem?
Right. And that's a big thing. Because I think that, like, especially when you're making assessments of friendships that are long-standing, you know, like the childhood friendships and so on, it's like, you're supposed to grow. Yeah. And a part of growing is outgrowing. Like, I can't fit the uniform I wore in kindergarten. If I could fit the uniform I wore in kindergarten at this age, you would think something's wrong with me.
For sure.
So you have to outgrow certain things to grow. And I think sometimes we outgrow relationships, and there's no harm in that, so long as you are honoring the person in the way that you handle it. And I think the reason why we both wanted to have this conversation is because we're seeing a lack of that. We're seeing that people who, have, they're good with communicating, they're good with honoring each other when everything is good. When things get bad, or when they don't feel like they're being, I guess just responded to in a particular way, like completely dishonor the relationship.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And God holds us accountable for how we steward relationships. I know so many women specifically who are like, God, send me a husband, send me a husband. You don't even have regular conflict resolution skills with your female friends, but you want to live with somebody every day? You don't even know how to have adult conversations with your female friends, but God just gonna send you a man to destroy. Okay. I'm sorry.
It was... All right, hold on. We're not gonna shoot people because I felt like shots fired in the air.
I'm sorry,
but that's the truth of this space, right? Is being honest about those things. One of the things about Shattered Whole in general is paying attention to why you were shattered in the first place.
That's big.
And I was like, because you can't make something whole if you don't understand why you were shattered.
That is so real. Or that you don't even acknowledge that you are shattered.
Correct. Right. And when you deal with the heart, there's so many chambers to it, right? If you think about even like the human heart, there's so many compartments to it, and they all have a different purpose and function.
Yes.
And if anything is not being tended to, the other part of your heart will overwork itself to make up for what is not being tended to, or where the blockage is. So part of this heart to heart is to find out where the blockage is, so that one part of your mind and your heart is not working so hard just to keep you alive, and to get you back to resetting yourself to a healthy place, or creating the healthy place, because maybe you never started.
No, that's so good.
And so when you're talking about your friendships, it is a great place to exercise the heart in a way where you can be fulfilling to self and also fulfilling to another. And part of that is being able to navigate the end well.
I agree. And I think, even before we get to the end, in the beginning, you mentioned that we choose our friends.
Correct.
And a large part of why we tend to choose our friends, well, when we're young, it's just like, she's in my class. You know what I mean? Or like, she's my friend. Or she likes to play ball. She's my friend. But like, as you get older, hopefully, you're choosing people based on interests, on abilities, on goals, on those sorts of things. And so, in the process of that friendship, you guys should kind of be a mirror to each other. Like Samora and I actually met in a higher ed setting. I was an admissions counselor. She was one of my students, and it's like, imagine if in the beginning of that I would have messed up your financial aid package, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we would not be, I would just be shattered. Like, I would not be whole because she would have shattered me. So I think as you're building your friendship, it's like all of these blocks of just love, support, sharing resources, accountability. And so I think that, that's a really important thing to bear in mind, even as that season is shifting.
One of the things that I had realized and I'll give you an example of a previous relationship that I had. There was a high admiration for the person that I had become friends with. And they had an admiration for me because we realized.
Does anyone not admire Samora? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, they are. And that's okay.
Like, I'm not
your people. I'm not your person. Right?
I listen. I agree. I understand. You're not everyone's cup of tea, but a few of us. You're a shot of Patron. But I also feel like you're a mirror. So a lot of people who don't like you, I'm gonna tell you what they don't like. They don't like that mirror.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna pray for you and go for that. And here's the thing. I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right.
All the time. Right?
I'm not doing this.
She hates... Because I understand
the choreography.
Yeah. Because I understand I wasn't always where I am. And in the Samora 10 years ago, we'll look at this Samora and be like, she didn't know what she didn't know.
That's a fact.
And so
Grace.
I very much so.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of grace because my mistake resume is gangsta.
Mistake resume.
Like, it is, I could go toe to toe
Some
with
of y'all
this
out here with
mistake
multiple
resume.
page mistake resumes.
You know what I'm saying? And so, which leaves me no space to turn up my nose at you because I don't know what season you're in.
That's fair. You know what? And I think it goes back to that verse in scripture where it says in Proverbs, you know, to be a friend, you have to show yourself friendly.
Yeah.
And we don't ever unpack what it means to be friendly.
Yeah.
And I think a large part of being a friend is having grace for people.
Yeah.
Because you can't be a friend without grace. You'll be a disgraceful friend.
Yeah. And understanding you ain't got all the answers.
That's a Fendi fact. You're on Sway in the spirit.
Okay.
But Sway did have the answers,
He did
though.
have the answer.
Quiet as his cat.
But
but we're not going to get into that. Kanye should have listened. And we're all Kanye in the spirit.
No. Rebuke. I won't attach that. I do not stand in agreement.
I don't come into agreement.
I do not come
I rebuke
agreement.
You got me wearing the Mario boots.
Never. Never. I don't care if it matches my dress. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But
shattered boots.
No. No. But I was like, but knowing that I don't have all the answers, I have to be just as open to hear your experience with me,
no, that's real.
As well, right? And you know, a few years ago, I had a friend who I admired her, and she was in a place and going through particular things, and God had opened the door for me to be his hands and feet for her.
Oh, that's beautiful. You stay being people's hands and feet though.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey God,
you got multiple hands and feet.
Mm-hmm. But which also allowed her to be his hands and feet for me. It just was in different areas.
I love that.
But we couldn't get to the place where we would accept what God was demonstrating with each other without the friendship.
Wow.
Because you got to trust someone to go that deep in.
No, that's real.
Right?
And that's another part of showing yourself friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
So because I was friendly and she was friendly to me, we were able to be transparent and vulnerable and fall into this love that allowed us the space to do this work and grow and blossom.
It's intimacy.
Yes. To be intimate.
Yes.
For the purposes that we individually needed.
Yes.
And then there hit a place where we had now grown and we no longer needed the same thing from one another because the work was done.
Yeah, no, that's big.
So that seasonal relationship is meant to agitate the soil, nourish the ground, and then produce its growth. And then when it starts to grow and produce fruit, it no longer needs to operate in that same vein anymore.
No, you're so right.
And since it doesn't, now you change positions. How do you change positions now?
So that's the question, because I don't think people are doing that with grace. I think what's happening is that people are experiencing that period of we've outgrown this prior need. Yeah. So it's almost like putting on a shoe and it's too small. You know what I mean? And it pinches your toe. Yeah. And people are crying out once their toe gets pinched instead of saying, well, how can we change the outfit? Because I think that there are some friendships that actually could grow and continue like moving forward, even though it won't look the same. Yes. But no one's actually doing that work.
Right, right.
People are like, my toe hurts, bye.
Yeah. Yeah, you're growing in age and not growing in maturity. And when you do that, you're going to bump heads, and sometimes you're not bumping heads externally. It's the child in you bumping heads with the adult in you.
Oh, that's so
because
good, y'all.
They have very different needs and requirements
and responses.
Yeah. Right? So if you don't grow the little girl up in you, the little boy up in you to meet, to be able to handle the requirements of the adult, the temper tantrum is going to run havoc, and it's going to run havoc into your friendship.
And you know what? I think that's another place of like the rejection sensitivity and how that can factor in, because a lot of times friendships tend to end during life transitions.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, you have a friend and they're getting married. You have a friend, they're going back to school. You have a friend, you know, they are having a child. You know, you have a friend and they have less time for you than they did before because of these things that they're doing. And there are people who don't interpret that as my friend is trying to steward this new responsibility well. They interpret that as my friend is rejecting me. Yeah. My friend doesn't have time for me anymore. Who does my friend think that they are?
Yeah. A part of my getting married was a death to a lot of my friendships.
Wow.
And I didn't understand it because I've kind of always had a little bit of the me that I am, right? So I didn't understand why these friendships died. And at first that rejection sensitivity was, oh, they don't want me anymore. They don't want to be around me anymore. And I had a conversation one time with an old friend, and they were like, well, you got married. And, you know, because I had my son before I got married. So it was like, oh, you got married, and now, you know, you're going, especially when I started going to church more. Who are you now? Who are you now? And it was like, oh, you know, like, well, you're in church and you're married, so, you know, that's why I didn't invite you. Huh? Oh, I didn't think you need to go because, and I'm just like, I'm confused by it. And it was just like, oh, did I change? Then now here's the thing. I'm sensitive. I'm like, you're rejecting me. And it was a form of rejection.
Yes.
But I didn't take what they said as what they said.
Got it.
They told me, I rejected you because you got married.
Right. Or
I made the choice to not engage with you the same way because you got married and you started going to church. And for me, your decision to get married and to start having God in your life in this particular way doesn't match my lifestyle. And so me not hearing that the person understood who they were and where they were, and that didn't intersect well with where they were,
right? And
they had no intention on adjusting or changing for the person that I was developing and growing into here. I took it as rejection of me and who I am or whatever. And I was like, and it was, but not for me to down me.
Yeah, because it actually inadvertently is an affirmation of recognizing who you are and saying, I don't want to trample on that.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to drag you to the club if you're married now, or I'm not going to, you know what I mean? The things that we used to do or that I feel comfortable doing, I'm not going to try to involve you in those things when I know you're on a different path.
Yeah. And then again, I don't want to leave, for some reason, I can't leave this rejection sensitivity. I had to ask myself the question, because I was like, oh, I don't want our friendship to change, but my life changed.
Yeah.
My life changed, and
the requirements of who you had to become to steward your new life well changed.
Right. And then here's what I had to ask myself. I was like, are you willing to forfeit what you have in order to go back to where you purposely came out of? In order to keep because here's the thing, I could have kept the friendship that season I ended. All I had to do was forfeit what was in my hand.
All you had to do.
All I had to do. And it was like, are you ready to do that?
And is that friendly?
And is that friendly?
You know, like, would someone who's your friend want to see you fumble all of your bags,
right,
just in order to stay where they are? Because, you know, Amos 3:3 says two cannot walk together unless they be agreed. So it's like, if me and you are holding hands and I'm going this way and you're going that way, I mean, how long can we hold hands? Some point, either I'm dragging you here, you're dragging me there, or we gotta let go.
Yeah. And sometimes the honorable thing is to, and I do now, appreciate the friend who told you the truth.
Yeah.
And let you go.
No, that's real.
Like,
sis, that I think is like my largest contention with this topic, is that so often people aren't even having the conversation. People are just dishonoring the relationship because they feel away. They're not even having whatever the conversation is that needs to be had. And I know, you know, me and her have spoken before on like families and how you learn conflict resolution dynamics very often when you're growing up. But I do believe that that is so important in navigating the end of any relationship, but especially friendships, is because we spent this amount of time that we were friends purposely and intentionally building each other.
Yeah.
Purposely and intentionally. And so if it's time for it to shift, like, why are we no longer in that spirit? Because I can build you and send you off. People have going away parties all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a part of understanding kind of like the nuances is not everything requires that. I think that there were some, I don't regret that my friend made the decision. Now looking at it, I don't regret that my friend made the decision for me, because I don't know if I was strong enough then to make that decision.
I agree, but she did tell you. So she
told me.
Yeah.
We had spent so much time apart.
Oh, so she told you way after.
Yeah, she told me way after. Okay. And I just asked the. Because, you know, I'm always asking a question,
right?
Like I'm
you be
the
asking
friend.
yourself questions.
Yeah. So I do to you what I do to myself. I always ask a question because sometimes assumptions will create such a movie in your mind and in your life that no one in real life was a part of, and I am at the place where I refuse to treat you like the imagination assumption.
And that's why I feel like the conversation is necessary, because what I've learned about people is that what's in has to come out, right? Like the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? It's speaking to somebody. So if you're not speaking to me about what's in your heart, you speaking to somebody.
Right.
So I think it's better to talk to me, because then you can actually get answers than to speak to other people.
Yeah. But even giving an answer takes a capacity that some people don't have. She told me eventually that part, but it wasn't a full discussion. That was the talk. It's me now being able to understand that it would have took me having to go backwards in order for her to be comfortable with me now. And that's why I said, what are you willing to give up to go back to your past, in order to make your past more comfortable?
And I think that's why it's so good that you're saying that, like, friendships can and should be seasonal sometimes. But yeah, sorry, continue.
And so, but I didn't think that. Here's the thing: you don't always think that some seasonal relationships are seasonal.
You never know.
You know what I mean? You don't know. And here's the thing. I had asked God one time. I said, why do you have me love these people so much if you know they're going to be out? And he goes, because they deserve all of you. And he was like, and I don't want you half-stepping it with my children.
And that's so good. And I think that's why they got to half-step it with me, though.
My heart.
Can you talk to them? Can you talk to them so they can start half-stepping it with me? But I think that what you're saying kind of goes back to what we were talking about with stewardship, and that God does hold us accountable for how we steward our friendships.
Correct. Because I said, this is a relationship a statement, but me and my husband was talking yesterday, and we've been going through this Kiss the Bliss like book. Aww. And it has like 52 days prompts where you kiss for 10 seconds and then you have a 10-minute conversation about whatever the prompt is, cute. Right? So I was like, shout out to my boo. Hey, baby. But one of the questions sparked, we do not do this 10-minute. We are there an hour and a half. We don't know how to talk short. What's that?
Who does Samora talk to for 10 minutes?
I don't know.
Raise your hand. You may be entitled to compensation.
Yo, Emicia, why you like this? I'm like, listen, everybody gets it. My pastor will call me and be like, he was like, I got 15 minutes. And I was like, correct. 45 minutes later. He was like, Samora, didn't I tell you I have 15 minutes? I was like, you did. And it's not that I don't respect your time.
What happened was,
I do, but the Lord was moving. But the point that happened was there was a decision to be made and a behavior of change that had to occur. And God had told me, he said, you can either have this behavior or you can have my son.
Wow. And
so often men are not valued in societal culture as being the prize in the relationship.
Yeah, no, that's real.
The woman is the angel, the woman is the prize, the woman is the thing. I was like, but when God said, you can't be this tainted and have my son too.
And you know what? That's a whole other shattered hole. But men who are surrendered to God are a prize. I'm not talking about these little jing bang, tegrig, pop down, poo poo, piece of bacco all men out here. But the ones who are surrendered to God, real prize.
Lord help me. I'm like, Jesus. Jesus. I don't be prepared, Emicia. I don't be prepared. But listen, the fact that Leighton in the back, I can't. But here's the thing. These are God's kids we out here interacting with.
His literal children.
His literal
that he
kids.
Literally died for.
Hello. What? And here's the thing. Watch your mouth when you're talking to my kid. And so
we feel out about our little snotty nose kids.
Yeah. So when you're in these friendships, there are times where God is like, hey, this friendship is going to end if you're not willing to give up this behavior. If you're not willing to give up this language. If you're not willing to do this or whatever. So I'm like, you may have rejection sensitivity, but here's the thing. I have equipped you to deal with it. And if you are choosing to keep it as a coping mechanism, as your comfort.
I was thinking about the security blanket.
The security blanket, right? I was like, this pacifier for you.
Yes.
I'm like, then you cannot have this person, because I have something greater for her. I have something greater for him. And because of their heart towards you, I will help sever this to preserve them while you take the time that you need to do the work that you need to do.
And that's so big, because I think that oftentimes, we always say hurt people. Broken people break people.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's like we inadvertently re-traumatize each other.
Yeah.
You could be someone who experienced parental abandonment.
Yeah.
And I could be a person who, because of, anxious attachment disorder, I tend to ghost. And we could have an issue, and a result of me ghosting may re-trigger or re-traumatize what you've gone through with your parental abandonment.
Yeah.
So that's so real. It's like sometimes God really will sever if you're not willing to work on that thing about you that's going to then drag that other person back, to a place that he's trying to actively heal them from. Yeah. So it can definitely be protection, and that's not something we think about either.
Right. So when you're navigating this space, and really this part of this like reflective time really happens after the fact.
I agree.
Hopefully you hearing these different nuances will slow you down in your willingness to either cut people off or end it abruptly.
Yeah, right? I agree. Yes.
Because sometimes I had a change in friendship recently, and the one thing that God kept telling me to do was wait. It was pissing me off. I was like, I got the solution.
Speak the truth.
I was like,
shame the devil.
I was like, I got the solution. And he was like, no, you don't.
Yikes.
Because I don't know about how the way Holy Spirit.
Let's just have a moment of silence for the way that God, again, I say, whom the Son sons is sunned indeed.
And listen, Leighton got the butt up in the corner. I'm like, he just kept saying, wait, slow down. And it wasn't that the relationship wasn't supposed to end. It was. But how I was going to end it could not look like the rest. Could not and should not have. One of the things was, I remember I was sitting in because God shows me like visuals, right? I'm a visual learner, and so sometimes I hear audibly, and then other times I see in like images, right? And so I'm seeing this image, and in Jesus, this image of like I'm actually seeing it, but like this image of Jesus talking to the disciples and him explaining parables in the context of cultural understanding.
Oh, that's so good.
Right? I was like,
come on, hermeneutics.
Right? I was like, in the context of like cultural understanding, I was like, but with a idea to get you the principle of understanding so that you can use it in any context.
Yes.
And one of the things was caring for the sheep. And
major.
There were many different jobs available to take care of the sheep, not just the shepherd. There was hirelings, right? There was those who tended to the land. There were so many things. There were so many positions that all played in the part in order to ensure the safety and care in the development of the sheep.
Yes.
And what he showed me was too often we say things like they're not on my level. And it's not that they're not on your level. They're just in a different position than you.
That's true too.
Right? And I was like, and different positions require different sacrifices and require different work ethic or equity. And if you can understand and respect the value of the different role.
Yes.
Then you have a better understanding of why they're not performing as if they were in your role.
I agree. And I think so often in relationship, we operate in love. In offense, we operate in ego.
Ooh.
So, yeah, you're not on my level now because you hurt me. But I was just on your level last week. Like, we went and got pedicures. Are you dumb?
I'm gonna poke you.
I was on your level at the nail salon. I mean, come on.
Are you dumb? I'm like, come here. She didn't call you dumb. She didn't call you dumb. But honest is honest, right? I was like, truth is truth, and I had to check I was just like, is it level or is it different?
Yeah, no, that's real.
And here's the thing. You're not supposed to have my call. That's why my name's on it.
That's why I was born, actually.
Just saying. And here's the thing. And how dare I disrespect yours? Now the question becomes, I'm doing this evaluation of time, right? And most of the conversation that God had with me had nothing to do with the person.
And that's how it's supposed to be.
Because
it's actually about your heart.
Correct.
It's about your heart.
Yeah. Let me check your heart. Let me tell you who you are. Let me tell you who you're not. So that when you do have the conversation with an external party,
yes,
you are comparing it to what I've told you.
And my standard.
Yes. And my standard. And I'm like, so friendly should have a understanding that is based in your understanding of how God has been friendly to you. Because when you go, I have a friend in God, he calls me friend, right? Like that song, what kind of friend has God been to you? Right? I was like, because again, he plays different roles in your life. He plays savior.
Yes.
He plays redeemer.
Yes.
But he also plays friend. And I was like, and what kind of friend has God been to you? And is any of that reflected in your friendship?
Has God ever told you you're not on his level?
Oh, for sure. Son, you moved across the country. I'm like, my bad guy. I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm like, listen, Job was like, do you know her? And God was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Job. I'm sorry.
Real and come again, selector.
Yeah. He's like, he was like, where were you?
When I made the snow?
And I was like, wait, I wasn't here.
There.
I wasn't here.
Wait, which snow? You talking about the east snow or the west snow?
You mean the snow that no snowflake is alike? And there's a lot of snow.
Yeah,
I don't
every
have that
single
much
snowflake that falls, like
Correct.
they're all different. There could be multiple snowstorms in multiple places in the whole country, or across the world. Every snowflake is different.
Yeah, and what you
not on his level.
I'm not.
Quick story. Church I used to go to, there was a girl who was cutting school, and an older woman caught her cutting school and went and told her mom. And so my friend, because she's always on go, went up to the woman and was like, why you told my mother that I was cutting school? You hating on me. And the woman, being a proud West Indian woman, said to her, hate you? How could I hate you? You're a child. You're not even on my level. And I feel like that's what God says to us sometimes. You're not even on my level.
Not their level.
Okay. Level.
But I wasn't prepared for the she's I'm not prepared. but I'm like, in thinking of that, and he was like, but here's the thing, I'm not on your level, yet I treat you as precious. I treat you as valued. I treat you as loved. I treat you like you don't deserve. And because here's the thing, some of navigating the ends of your friendship is treating them better than they treated you.
No, you're so right. And if we're going to be completely honest, can we be completely honest?
That's what we're here for.
We have friendships that could have ended if we didn't do that. We're talking about navigating the end of friendships. Literally, all of our friendships could have ended if we didn't do that. Because there are certain people that we had to have tough conversations with.
Yeah.
And because we were able to navigate those in the way that God treats us, our friendships became stronger.
Correct.
And nobody talks about that.
Correct. I don't know about anybody else. I used to have when I was a kid, a lot of my friendships started with a fight.
Oh, wow.
Right? She was like,
I don't think that's how it's supposed to go, but okay.
But my producer said him too, right?
Okay.
We would
I'm glad that didn't happen here.
Right? I wasn't really a talker. Like back then. Like you could talk, I'm dragging you, right?
Oh.
So,
okay.
I had a little violent streak. So
okay.
Back then. I
was little Peter.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? I connect. All right, that's another thing. I got so excited. I connect so much with Peter. It's crazy. Anyway. But I used to start my friendships, you know what I mean? Like it just so happened that it started with a fight. Or we could have got into a place of friendship and then we had a fight. And what would happen, I don't know why, it's just weird. What would happen after the fight is we would ask how we got to the fight.
Oh, that's good.
We were like, why did we get to the fight? And then we would try to, what would happen, how I realized that there was something else going on. I was so sad that we fought because I actually did like the person.
And that's so good. Just that reverse engineering.
And so what we would talk, and it wouldn't be no deep conversation. I was a kid, right? It wasn't a deep conversation, but we would talk.
Well, you took my whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Be like, well, I wouldn't have hit you.
Right.
If you would have, if you didn't take my glasses. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, I just got those glasses. You don't know how much my mother paid for those glasses. We bought.
Yes.
You broke my glasses. I'm about to go home and get in trouble. I'm tearing you up.
That's a fact.
And it was just like, well, I took your glasses because I liked your glasses, but then you ain't want to see them, and you.
I was just playing with you.
I was just playing with you, and here's the thing: you made me feel a particular way, and I didn't like that, and I couldn't handle what you were saying and how it made me feel.
And that pressure.
And when I realized with adults is we have conversations with one another that brings up these unresolved things, that some of them that we didn't even know that we had.
That have nothing to do with the other person.
It has nothing to do with the other person. And now I can't handle the desire that I have for whatever we are in this emotional state as well.
Right.
Now, this is where grace come in. Can I recognize that you're going through something right now? And I think that's why God was like, wait.
Yes.
Because you're both going to wrestle for a minute. And I just want you to see something, because this doesn't have to be nasty.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. And I also feel like there are times where in my relationships, people have called me to the carpet on that. Yeah. Like, I feel like, you're responding to me this way because of this other thing with you.
Yeah.
And even if in the moment I couldn't see it, if I love you and I have invested in our relationship, I will take some time away to figure out if what you are saying has merit. There have been times that I've tried to call people to the carpet and say, hey, you're angry at me, but this isn't really about me. And again, whether that person was operating in love or whether they were operating in ego, there was a completely different reaction to that statement.
Right.
Because sometimes when you say that to someone, they get offended.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you know me? You think you know everything?
Yeah.
No
one wants to feel like they're being psychoanalyzed.
But I've been your friend for so many years, that I can actually see you're spiraling.
Yeah.
Who wants to watch their friend spiral?
Correct. One of the things that I have, the friendship that I had from years ago, one of the conversations that I had to have with her was, I told her, because I was so heartbroken over the ending of our friendship, because I still love her. Like, I just love her.
And can we just pause to just let that breathe? Because if you ever really love someone, you're always gonna love them.
Yeah.
And that's why this topic is necessary, because even if you run away from it or you dishonor that person, that love for them is not going to go away. That's what's going to continue to fester inside of you if you don't handle it correctly. Correct.
And but what I saw was my time was up. And I didn't know how to be how to mature or to change or to adjust the way I friend in order to be a friend at the different seasons that we both were at.
Wow.
And so one of the conversations that I had with her was, I don't know how to be your friend and my friend too right now.
Wow, that's huge.
And she looked at me and she was like, I know. And she didn't either.
How honest is that?
Yeah, and it took a minute.
That's maturity.
I think we
keep
both
thinking you normal.
Let me be. All right.
It's the delusions for me.
I'm like,
how many times in y'all life has that happened?
Well, blessed and highly favored. But going into that, because the plan was like the plan of the conversation was to curse me out. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And the plan of the conversation was prepare for her to curse me out and not care. Okay. Because if there is something that I used to be, and here's what I've learned, what I used to be, the hardness that I used to have, I don't have, because God replaced my heart of stone with flesh.
And I think your healing journey.
Correct.
Yeah, because you healed to that point.
Correct. And because I have this heart of flesh, it vexes me to act as if my heart is of stone.
Oh, that's good.
And
that's real life maturity.
Real life.
So you don't even want to have walls.
No.
Wow.
No. I be trying. I be trying every once in a while. It lasts as long as it takes for me to say it, and then I repent.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, but that took decades. Just so that there's clear, and this is why Shattered Hole is such an important platform to me, is because I didn't just stumble there.
Right.
Like the tools that we talk through and we talk about, the analyzing, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's worth it, because I cannot tell you the peace and the fullness of the love that I get to experience.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Because I'm willing to do the navigating of hard, of different, of, because everything is not like
smooth.
Not just smooth, but everything is not like, sometimes a conversation will uncover the fact that there was no TNT in the first place. Wow. Sometimes a conversation will alleviate pressure that your imagination gave you, and it was never a bomb.
You know, that I've seen that, and I've also seen the opposite, where someone came in completely convinced that there was a bomb and planted one in the way that they spoke to you and handled you.
Correct.
So it's almost like self-sabotage, where you sabotage what could have been a resolution.
Right. You sat there and you created the TNT. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, because you believed that it had to be. It had to be. It had to be that way.
And this is why I say unresolved issues that, find themselves out there.
Yeah.
Because somebody else probably did have TNT and you never healed from that. So not everybody got it.
Yeah. So your mind can't even comprehend the fact that you can have this conflict resolution where you can, and I've said this in previous episodes, where you can go through the situation, you can talk about the behavior that you experience, and then the impact of how you feel and what you believe now because of it, right? And then begin healing it from there. And that's why I always talk about how important it is to separate the facts from the feelings, because if you recall back the facts without the color of the feeling,
that's so good.
It will allow you.
But do people are they able to properly gather the facts without their feelings in these types of situations? Because I haven't. Again, you think you're normal. I love that you think you're normal, friend. Most people, it's a dub. That's not even a dub. That's a double dub. Like, that's a dub, because it's a slow dub and a whole dub.
Yeah.
If I feel like you've offended me, I'm in my feelings.
Yeah.
So most people in those scenarios, they will tell you things that you said that you didn't even say.
Correct.
Because that's what they hurt in their feelings.
Yeah. But that's why you have people like me. And I'm not the only person that God has healed to this place of like navigating that. And here's the thing, I'm not exempt from it. Like, so these friendships that we're talking about, navigating, I understand what I'm talking about because I've had to do it.
Right.
And not all I've done well. Over the years, they have gotten better and better to the point
you're really
where
good at it now.
The point where I delight in the ending now. Because I understand that something after is coming that's better. And so what I also want to do is make sure that I steward you well.
Yes,
because
into your next.
Because here's the thing, I don't want to be something you have to heal from. That part. Because here's the thing, if I don't want to go through the trauma, and I don't like the trauma that I've been through, and I don't like the pain that I've been through, but I know that we need to end, what can I do with the capacity that I have? Some people think that they need to have all of these different things. If you sometimes just use what's in your hand and start there,
that's enough.
It's enough to start. Because here's the thing, even if this one didn't go the greatest, the next time around, because you will have it, as long as you live life, you will have seasonal encounters.
No, you really will. And you can't escape that.
And you can't
It's
escape
necessary for your development.
Correct.
Not everyone is going to have all the tools you need in every single stage of your life to be able to give them to you. That's not even real.
Right. And so I just want to get better each time for you and for me.
Yes.
Like each time for you and for me. And here's the thing, I can cry, I can mourn it because it is a grief and it is a loss.
Yes.
Right? I can cry, I can mourn for it, and I can be in my feelings. But I have come to a place where, and I've said this, and if you watch other episodes from me, and if you're not, I'm about to help you out. Right? I was like, feelings need to be at the table. They just don't have voting rights.
That. And I love when she says that because it's so real.
Because here's the thing, feelings being at the table lets you know what's going on within the organization of you. And I was like, and if you want a healthy organism of you need to know what's going on inside of you.
Yes.
Those feelings, though, don't get voting rights to make permanent decisions because they are temporary. Some feelings you're going to see, and they actually don't need to be addressed. They need to be ignored.
And you know what? It's so interesting because I remember hearing a preacher say that, like, God gave us our emotions, and the purpose of our emotions was supposed to come in to reinforce our logic. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, if I make a logical decision, like, you know, I'm gonna honor God with my time today, right? Mm-hmm. My feelings are supposed to come in and flood me with, you know, good, you know, receptive things about that, so that then I feel stronger and strengthened in my good decision. Mm-hmm. People let their emotions make the decisions, and then try to follow that up with raggedy logic that doesn't even make sense outside of their emotions.
Correct. And some of the conversations that I hear a lot, and sometimes I see it on social media, and it's just like, things like feelings are dumb, right? Because it's not informed in its foundation with fact, right? And so I get that, but alongside that, not all feelings are illogical, right? So, and that's why it gets to be at the table, because it has to prove itself valid to stay there in order to be a part of the voting right. They don't get a voting right, but you can accompany the facts of things because you have proved yourself valid, and not prove yourself valid by because it reinforces my opinion to be the right thing. It has been a complete evaluation of every angle, externally, internally. We've counseled, you know what I mean? Like, this is why God goes, you know, you have wise counsel.
And I think really quick, two triggers, because I think that when people are triggered, none of this is happening.
Yeah. I'm gonna push back on that.
You think that people are having, like, internal dialogues about, like, what's at their table when they're triggered?
Yeah, I think here's the thing. Here's where you're having counsel. It may not just be wise, right? Because the phone call that you make to go call that friend, most of the time, you know the friend you're calling.
Oh, got it. You're talking about, I'm talking about in the moment when that person's triggered, they're just reacting.
I think it depends on where you are in your journey. Not everybody's in the same place, right?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about healed people being triggered. I'm talking about most people being triggered.
Maybe. I'm like,
because I haven't seen most people being triggered and then, like, really being logical about why they're triggered. People just be reacting out here in these streets.
I want to say yes. I want to say I think maybe, and it could just be the environment that I'm in. I think I've had the privilege, and maybe that's what it is, to see both.
Yeah, that's a privilege.
Right? I think I've had the privilege to see both. And this is why I think it's so important that for the one who has done the work to not be selfish with the fruit of their work. Like, share the fruit with the people around you so that what they have consumed from your either an observation of you, I was like, or the equipping that you have given them, so that when moments come up and there is a trigger, that they don't pull the trigger on the person who has triggered them.
It's so hard because I've literally had experiences where I've invested years of my life into a friendship with a person. And in the moment where they were triggered, none of that mattered. Yeah. And I've seen that happen so many times around me too. Yeah.
And sometimes, like, that does happen, and that's why I said I've seen both. Because there always has to be a willingness.
Yes.
Right?
It doesn't matter what you have to offer if I'm not willing to take it.
Yeah. Because when I can talk about me, when I've been triggered, or when I have talked to other people who are in the trigger, I ask questions like, what did you hear me say?
Exactly.
Right? Because because I value what's there, I need to know what you heard.
Yes.
And if you regurgitate back to me just what I said verbatim, I said, no. I need to know what you heard, what your mind told you I said. Right? I was like, because if you give me what your mind told me you said, I can tell you whether or not that's accurate.
No, that's so real. And I think, all in all, it's like in these moments, whether people honor or dishonor, the end of the relationship, the thing that God is really teaching me is like, it's our responsibility to cultivate the type of heart that can honor people even when they don't honor us.
Correct.
And that's really hard.
Because we're not perfect people.
We're not perfect people.
One of the when I got the call to for emotional restoration, what God had told me, he was like, my leaders are leading people into more brokenness. Wow. And I was like, okay. And he was like, and you're going to be a part of healing my leaders who have been ignored. Right. And a part of that is having an understanding of emotional intelligence, but also dealing with the trauma of things. And then also, I always talk about this part of separating the feelings from the facts, because we hold things that even in itself should have been seasonal.
Yes.
And we hold trauma like a blanket.
Yes.
And everyone who we kind of encounter or gets close enough,
we just paint that face on them.
We paint that face on them.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah. And it's not fair to them. So I think the crux of it all is, if I can say that there's one thing that I wish that a listener would take from this is, I pray that you have a different honor and respect for seasonal.
Yes.
And you recognize how loving a seasonal relationship is.
I think that is the most important thing, because we would have saved ourselves a lot of heartache if we would have just understood that. Yeah. And I think there's a verse, well, not a verse, it's a quote from Frederick Douglass. It was in Ego is the Enemy. Where he says, a man is worked on by what he works upon. He may carve out his circumstances, but his circumstances will carve him out as well. And so often when I'm navigating the end of a friendship or any relationship, I try to focus on who I want to become. Yeah. Because I'm like, if I stay in the feeling of how dare this person, really, they told this person this, that's not even what happened. Or, why did they talk to me like that? Or who will I become as a result of that? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think it goes back to what you were saying before about like just recognizing that even if that season ended, it was there to teach you something. Yeah. And if you get the lessons from it, you still win. Yeah. You got something. Yeah. You got something. Like, appreciate what you were able to have and receive. And vice versa. Yes. Because sometimes I just want to say this one last thing and then we're out. If you go, there was nothing good in that relationship. You're literally lying. Literally. And I say that because I'm so intentional about my friendships. If somebody can say to you that in the time that we were friends, they didn't learn new things about themselves, they weren't encouraged, they didn't have someone that was there for them even when other people weren't there, then yes, they are lying. And I think if a single interaction can put all of that into flames, and light all of that on fire. Even this part, even if you knew that you shouldn't have been with that person, what they gave you was a better understanding of you. Yes. What they gave you was the experience of going against yourself. Yes. And like, cause not every fruit or every good thing that you'll get will be necessarily a good thing, but you will be able to pull out of it something that will give you a wiser tool for your later. So I'm like, don't leave, don't leave the produce on the table. Yes. You know what I mean? Take with you your fruit
no matter how little or plentiful it is. And so that you, when you're going into your next, you have the nourishment and you do not have to relearn the lesson, because the Lord loves to spin it back one time.
When I tell you,
I don't want to be on this
He is
DJ
the king of spinning the block.
more.
Like, lessons are set to auto repeat. You want to not learn that lesson? Go ahead and not learn that lesson and see what happens. But one thing that he's taught me as well is, like, in those moments, even when friendships end poorly, he's preparing us for leadership. Because how can you be a leader if, you know, you're not okay with people talking about you? You're not okay with people betraying you. You're not okay.
Or misunderstanding you. Not everybody's going to understand. Not everybody's going to get it. And everything is going to end equitably.
And that's why everyone's not called to be a leader.
Correct. Listen, I love you differently. I'm like, the way that I laughed from my soul, I'm never going to hear Levels again the same way. Never going to hear it again. Leave us. Okay? All right. When someone's acting up, I'm going to be like, you're not even on my leave us.
Yes.
Okay? They're going to be like, oh my what?
For being on our leave us.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And journeying through this thing together, it's discovery.
Because we're doing it with you.
Okay. Discovery is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. No one has all the answers, but if you have one more answer than you did yesterday, to God be the glory.
Yes. Okay. And thank you some more for having this time, because I feel like in our society, we make romantic relationship breakups the thing, the breakup. Yeah. And I'm sorry, like, I don't even date often. So romantic relationship breakups, I'm gonna care about them. But friends, when I tell you I have several friends, man, I look at my friends like family. Yeah. So those breakups hurt differently, and we do not discuss that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
At least we started to today.
We started to. We made groundwork. Mm-hmm. But listen, you made a decision to be a part of this conversation. Hey, girl. Hey, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Hey, boy.
Okay.
Hey, boy. Hey, too.
All that. But listen, make sure that you are subscribing. Make sure that you're staying connected. This Heart to Heart series is going to be just that, a heart-to-heart moment amongst two friends who have experienced a lot of different dynamics of life, and just like you. Mm-hmm. And this is where you find out that all of this time that you weren't alone, and all of this time that it wasn't just you, and all of this time that there is something good that has come from the trials and tribulations that you have experienced.
Yes.
And especially in your friendships and how you navigate the end. There's someone right now who needs to navigate the end of a friendship, and now you will have a different way of going about it.
Got some tools.
And here's the thing: the way that you handle it does not depend on what their response is. You handling it with honor, love, and respect for what was has nothing to do with their response to the way you are a part of navigating this end. You are accountable for your own actions.
Because me and Samar have both had friendship breakups of people that we mutually knew. Mm-hmm. And I don't know all the meats and potatoes of why she don't speak to people. She don't know all the meats and potatoes. Mm-hmm. Like, we operate in integrity.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Correct. So, listen, I want you to remember that we are listening, that we see you, and that we love you. God bless.